Hey y'all, welcome back to Hyperdrive Hour. This is our pre-podcast disclaimer coming from Justice here that I fucked up when recording this shit. My audio is missing, so I'm doing the best in post to either dub over or just cut out where necessary massive chunks of dead space, and where I can't just cut out that dead space, I will try to summarize my thoughts on anything again in post. You can hear everybody else just fine. It was only my mic that wasn't set up. This is why you don't trust digital shit, and you should always like quadruple fucking check it because yeah, I have several programs that I use in the back end. I was checking through some of them. I didn't check through all of them. I needed to check through all of them. So here we are. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoy this fucking clusterfuck that this episode's gonna be now. But yeah, welcome to us talking about Ahsoka episodes 4 and 5. I hope you enjoy.
What?
Hello, I'm Sonata. I still don't know why I'm a part of this podcast, but here I am.
Howdy, I'm Marin, also known as Sick Dr. Art on all socials. Apologies for being quiet today. My throat really hurts. Um, I'm excited to talk about Soger Boker.
Hi, I'm Donovan. I exist without my consent.
Alright, so the summary of these two episodes is that they're essentially the lightsaber fight episodes, in which episode 4 involves Ahsoka and Sabine and Hu Yang landed on the planet of Cetos. And from there, a series of lightsaber duels occurs, one between Shin and Sabine, in which Sabine is defeated and then reveals that she can harness the Force with a little like bitch slap to Shin's face. And then Balin and Ahsoka fight, but not before Ahsoka absolutely dunks on Marak and turns him into a pile of gas. Um, then Balin and Ahsoka fight. Balin wins pretty handedly, and Ahsoka is quote unquote presumed dead after she falls off a cliff into the water. From there, Ahsoka and no, not Ahsoka, Sabine is essentially coerced with the map into going with Shin and Balin aboard the Eye of Sion to the other galaxy, whereafter Balin destroys the map. That's episode 4 in a nutshell, as it ends with Ahsoka awaking in the world between worlds with Anakin there. And episode 5 kind of picks up right there with her meeting Anakin wanting to teach her a lesson in some capacity. They duel. He drops her into a bunch of Clone Wars flashbacks. They duel again. There's some really cool imagery of Vader and Anakin. Some really well done transitions. And the, I guess, reiteration and kind of confirmation that Jason Syndulla's Force sensitive happens as Hera and Carson Teva and Jason are all out looking for Ahsoka and Sabine while Ahsoka's in the world between worlds. And by the end of the episode, Ahsoka uses the Purgle to head off to the other galaxy, while Hera stays behind to mop up the incompetency that is the New Republic. That's the summary for the episodes, more or less, and that's what we'll talk about now, starting with Sonata.
So, episode 4 was a lovely breath of fresh air compared to episode 3. Episode 4 contained more of the plot moving forward than I thought we would see in the 3 episodes after episode 3. I had like this hunch in my stomach that most of the show was going to be focused around the efforts to get the means to travel to where Thrawn is, but no. Episode 4, where we're on our way to see Thrawn, and it was a nice, pleasant surprise. Also, rest in peace, Merrick. I know everybody wanted you to be Ezra, Barriss, Supreme Leader Snoke, Dooku Reborn, Starkiller,
More important in literally any capacity.
and he just dies because Ahsoka needed to dunk on someone. She needed her 1W.
Look, if you can't fridge the zombie, who can you fridge?
Uh, in regards to 4, just excellent choreography all around, some good acting, some good writing. 4's just a good episode all around.
I enjoyed the episode. It was definitely nice after episode 3. Um, I'm looking through my notes right now. My consensus of the episode is I can fix her. Um, poor Hu Yang. Um, love that man, but that man gets so disrespected in every episode. um, there were some bits that I was like, huh, that's rough. But most of it was fine. Um, I will say though that I was really scared for seeing a live action World Between Worlds. But I think they fucking nailed it. I think it looks spectacular. The sound design is really good. The look of it overall is really good. Um, that's definitely where they spent most of the budget, I feel, or a lot of it. Oh god, one of my notes is the way Shin bonked Sabine's helmet off was so disrespectful. I was laughing my ass off. Is one of my notes. Um,
Alright, so my question here is why the fuck does the vacuum seal on Sabine's suit not, hold the helmet under her helmet? Um, I think this question is very important to keep it in post, and this is why I'm dubbing it over. But yes, I think it's kind of dumb that her helmet got knocked off, but I mean, surely there's a good reason for it besides, having to see her face for acting reasons. I guess Din Djarin in the helmet wasn't what they wanted to do with Sabine. I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
no, my headcanon is that Sabine hasn't worn her armor in a while. She needs to get it refitted. Um, that because there is no possible way that a Mandalorian would normally let that happen. That there would be an easy way to do that. Um,
Otherwise,
what
how
are
do
some
we know
other?
that it's actually Sabine and not just Ezra in disguise?
Oh god, what are my other notes? Um, my last note was where is Rex with an angry face? Wait, I
All
have
you had to
words.
do was wait a week and a half
I
for
have
three.
words.
Oh,
But
a half
yeah,
an episode.
overall, I enjoyed the episode. Merrick, what the fuck? Because literally anybody who doesn't know what a super niche part of the Night Sister culture can do from one arc of the Clone Wars, um, like it's just gonna be super fucking confused as to what Merrick is, probably, and we're not even sure if that's exactly what he is. It's just like the main idea. Overall, I think my final thoughts are overall this episode was fine, better than last week at least. LOL.
Alright, so now I get to talk about episode 4, in which, for the most part, I did enjoy it. I thought that there was a fight in the beginning between Sabine and Ahsoka and the droid and a few of the mercenary guys that they had that kind of felt unnecessary. I don't think they added much besides, hey, look at how proficient Ahsoka and Sabine are. Look at how proficient that must mean the bad guys they're about to go head to head with are if they can, stand up to them. All in all, a lot happens in this episode, which makes it better than episode 3, where nothing happened. They leave for Thrawn's Galaxy, as I'm going to call it in post, as well as the fact that I love the choreography of the duels in this show. The balance between original trilogy and prequel dueling that they get, where prequels is way more flashy, way more over the top, crazy spins, and you'll see that in the next episode a little. Given that Anakin's in it, Um, but with the fact that they also harken back to what, especially in A New Hope, George Lucas based the Jedi and their lightsabers on, that being, samurai. And Ahsoka strikes so many of those samurai poses that, like, it's really obvious where they were getting their inspiration for, but I loved it. Uh, the way Balin fights in this episode is great. They've done a good job, in my opinion, of characterizing him as somebody who was a Jedi of old. He feels like he was somebody who was a part of the prequel Jedi Order, and I just like it. I I don't know. I just enjoyed that stuff happened. This episode is my general consensus on it. We got to see cool action. Most of it had meaning, whether it was revealing that Sabine was force sensitive or sending Ahsoka to the world between worlds for next episode. Um, Separating Sabine from Ahsoka so Sabine can go with the bad guys to the Thrawn galaxy. All in all, it was a pretty decent episode, in my opinion.
Pay literally everyone on your staff more, Jesus Christ, except for like the stupid ones.
No, just because they're stupid doesn't mean they don't deserve money, or else none of us would get paid, Marin.
That's true.
You know, they have a point.
That is true. Um, Disney, pay your artists more, please.
The choreography was good, but and the pacing itself was not bad, but I kept feeling like there was something missing when I was watching it a lot of the time. I can't put my finger on what, but something felt like it was missing. I think primarily it might have just been use of the Force from the Jedi. It's like the just the occasional, like, just, hey, I'm fighting someone. Why am I not also like uh flinging rocks at them? I'm in the middle of a forest. There's rocks everywhere. Why am I only trying to hit them with the glow bat? But that's a relatively minor nitpick. Just um, and there's like one other major nitpick that I have. It's like if the map sphere was hot enough to burn Ahsoka's hand, when it got flung away into some very dead, very dry looking grass, why was there not a fire?
Magic ball.
I guess, yeah. Uh, I'm definitely not as high on it as you guys are.
Don't worry, I have my gripes.
But like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put this on like a 5.5.
That's exactly what
Because
I put it as.
the parts with Hera and Jason, all that are slow. The I've got those couple of story gripes, and it's better, but it's nothing special. I don't think it's up to the standard set by the first two, which I voted as 7s. I'm curious to see how my opinion will change when I inevitably rewatch the show.
Mm.
You know, yeah. Once it's all out, once all the setups paid off, because whenever they release that movie that they keep talking about, before that comes out, I'm gonna rewatch the entire show.
Mm.
Before we move on to episode 5, I just want to say that it's particularly bold of Dave Filoni to introduce a new force power this far into the canon. I didn't know force slap was a thing, but apparently now it is.
One thing that I just want to say about this show, kind of in general, is like I come from a theater background. I've done a lot of theater stuff in the past, and this is just kind of a thing with Star Wars in general. but it's really, really evident with some of the characters in this show, specifically the TIE fighter pilot Carson,
TIE
overacting.
Fighter?
TIE Fighter?
Or no, fuck, X-wing, the X-wing captain, um, is just overacting, and like it's just like a Star Wars thing in general. That's how Star Wars is. It's campy. Um, but I'm feeling it really hard with Hera and Carson and the X-wing pilots. Like with Ahsoka, it's not so bad. Sabine does it some. Like her rummaging through her bag in episode 4 was just bad. That was just bad blocking. She did that poorly. Um, but that's just like my major thing. It's not that big of a deal because I expect it of Star Wars. Um, but it just makes me a little bit sad because in comparison to episode 1 and 2, I just feel it really bad. I just feel it in this episode a lot more. This episode and episode 5 a lot. It's just
Yeah.
like Rosario Dawson is really, really good. I think she's definitely the best from what I have seen of the major characters in this show. She's definitely the best actress. Um, and that's not putting any of the others down. It's just the fact that her performance to me is more naturalistic than everybody else's. And it's Star Wars. It's weird. You can't necessarily always get naturalistic with some of the bullshit that you're spewing. But that's just like a general thing about the show as a whole, and just a symptom of Star Wars. Can we
It's
talk
time
about
to talk
episode
about
5?
episode 5.
I
It's
have
time to
so
talk
many
about
thoughts
5.
about the title fucking alone. I'm not even gonna.
Wait, actually, first, I don't believe Sonata gave a number rating for episode 4.
That's true. Did Marin?
I did,
Uh,
yeah, 5.5.
Marin agreed with me at 5.5.
Okay.
That's exactly what I put.
Episode 4. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. And
Oh,
my main reasoning for that is that it caught me off guard with how quickly they were willing to advance the plot in such a short time span, maybe as compensation for episode 3 being so slow. I was expecting them to take more time to make the jump. The fact they didn't caught me off guard,
I
and
was as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I was as well. Like, I thought it was gonna take him a lot longer to actually move. And well, I'll talk about that more whenever we get into episode 5.
But just yeah, it gets that high of a rating because it subverted my expectations in a way that I enjoyed.
The Ghost of Justice Future is here to say that, yeah, in post, I haven't given this a number yet. I'd probably give this episode probably like a 6.5 to a 7. I think I said 7 in recording. Few days of further reflection sets me in between 6.5 and 7. Um, but Sonata mentions that they did a lot in this episode faster than he expected, and that surprised him. And the reason for that is that episode 3 does literally nothing for the plot besides get them to the planet. So basically nothing happens. And then episode 5 is just about the same thing. Nothing really happens save for Hera jumping in, or not even Hera. Hera doesn't get to do anything in this show. Fuck her. Why would she get to do anything? It's Ahsoka who jumps. Um, so yeah, there's a joke in here somewhere about the fact that episode 4 had to do all the heavy lifting and expediting of the plot because we have 2 really slow episodes that it's sandwiched in between. Yeah.
Yup.
Not really, no.
Plot-wise, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
yeah, plot-wise, nothing really happens. Character
in
development-wise, yeah, we get some cool stuff, but like,
in retrospect, like I think originally I was looking at like 6.5 for episode 4. But in retrospect, looking back on it, set between two incredibly slow episodes. Episode 4 feels incredibly rushed.
Yeah, the pacing of this show is like it's on and off, I've noticed.
Yeah, it really does boil down to it being Dave Filoni pacing. And it works okay when you have like a longer series to work with, but I think we're starting to I think it's becoming a problem with like a shorter series, but that's a topic we can discuss later on.
Yeah, shorter series with longer episodes. Okay, well, number one, and this is just coming from me who's a nerd about clones, Mandalorians, and Mandoa. Um, the title of the episode, The Shadow Warriors, I immediately knew it was going to be about the clones, or clone indicative, or that it was going to involve them in some way, because in one of the Republic Commando books, there is mentioned a Mandalorian song that the clones were taught by their teachers called the Wera de Verda, which is translated into English or Galactic Basic as Rage of the Shadow Warriors. And the Shadow Warriors in this case are clones. Um, and so I like, yeah. The clone flashbacks or the flashbacks as a whole were fine. Honestly, I I thought Anakin's facial CGI was fine. It at least looked better than Ahsoka's outfit on the Siege of Mandalore. And that was awful. That looked like it was put together with like felt and stick glue. Um, especially like the for lack of a better term, like the comma bits on her belt. Uh, but I really like the actress that they chose for Ahsoka because it emphasizes just how young she was. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that Ahsoka was 14 whenever she joined the Clone Wars. And that first battle, which I'm thinking was almost 100, like I'm 99% sure was Ryloth because of all the Twi'leks and the kind of sandy look to it. Um, that was it, having her in that kind of setting. I thought that was really good. I thought it was interesting that they didn't age her up at all for the 17 for the Siege of Mandalore whenever she's 17.
It
No.
it
She
was
still looks
this.
14.
It was definitely the same actor, but if you
Yeah, yeah, it was the
paying
same
attention to how
actress.
I paid some vague attention to how tall she was between that battle and Siege of Mandalore. She does seem to be taller. Uh,
Yeah, like
so
taller,
that's
but
not
her
the only
montrals are the
change.
same. Her
Yeah,
montrals are the same size, which really threw me for a loop. I was like, what the fuck? What battle is this? And then I saw Mandalorians. I was like, wait, is this a Siege of fucking Mandalore? And yeah, it was. Um, I thought it was cool that Anakin got to see part of the Siege of Mandalore. Um, overall, I fucking loved the fight between the two of them. I liked it a lot, and I liked how they kind of intercut Anakin with Vader, or Anakin with his Sith eyes, or Anakin with his blue or his red saber. um Even the fighting styles in some places, like whatever they go back to the world between worlds after the Siege of Mandalore, he has this really heavy down cut, and I was like, that's a Vader move, not an Anakin move, because Vader's movements are very, they're large, they're sweeping. For our obligatory Game of Thrones reference, Vader moves like the mountain. um because it's big, it's sweeping, it's aggressive, and it's strong, whereas Anakin is more fluid in his movements. I thought that was really cool, and even intercutting his voice with some of the vocal modulation of Vader in a couple of spots that I noticed. So that was really cool. Um, what else do I have? Oh, Rex! Yay, we got to see Rex. I'm so
I
happy
was
we got to see my boy
I
for
was
like
going to
4
say
seconds. I'm
if you
actually
didn't
fucking enraged
if you
for
didn't
how
bring up
big. Go ahead.
I was going to say if you didn't bring up the Rex cameo, I would have accused you of being an imposter.
No, I thought the scene of her and whatever clone trooper it was that she was comforting while on Ryloth was really sweet and really gentle. And I thought that really was like, oh yeah, that's fucking Ahsoka. That's my little baby girl right there. Because that was just like the clones were such an important part of Ahsoka's life. I feel like this show, like that scene had it, and but like kind of after that, like Rex is there for 4 seconds, which made me really sad because he's such an important part of Ahsoka's life and Ahsoka's journey and growth as a person. That was like, wow, you really did my man dirty like that, didn't you? Um, and but yeah, it was nice to see Rex though. I'm just happy I got to see Rex, live action Rex with Tamora Morrison's voice instead of D. Bradley Baker. Oh, it was nice to hear. Um, One of my big gripe about just like clone armor and live action in general is the blue looks so fucking saturated in comparison to how it was in the Clone Wars. But that's just like a very minor thing. It's not that big of a deal. Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot. Jason and Hera are in this episode too, I guess. Um, Basically after the World Between Worlds segment, I felt like the episode should have ended there, and we should have started the next episode on Ahsoka um communing with the Purgle and leaving. I feel like that's how the next episode should have started because the pacing of what I'm calling the denouement of the episode was just kind of bad. Um, in my opinion. Um, for the Jason and like Hera moments, I don't have much. Cool, Jason. He's force sensitive, I guess. That's nice. Um, that's about it. Again, the overacting is really evident in those parts. Jason's fine. Hera's okay. Carson is difficult for me to watch at some points. Um, and we get to see Ahsoka in her white outfit, which I really, really like. Other than that, those are like, if I had to rate the episode, I'd give it like a 6 to a 6.5. I liked it more than the last episode, even if it's just for funny clones. Um,
The bias is showing through.
Yep.
yeah, I liked it. Like the episode didn't do a lot plot wise, but it did a lot character wise for Ahsoka and kind of explaining her relationship to Anakin. And yeah, I liked the fight a lot. I thought that was cool. And then what else? I don't know. I just like to see the clones. Like the latter half, or not even the latter half. The Jason and Hera moments, I might actually change my number rating. The Jason and Hera moments and then the denouement of the episode were just like so slow and so like tedious. They were like I hate the fact that that brings it down so much because those parts are legitimately just so forgettable in comparison to the rest of the episode. But because that's there, it has to bring it down to like a 4.5 to 5 tops. That's my final consensus of the episode. Really liked the Ahsoka, really liked the Anakin, really liked the clones. Jason and Hera, shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to listen to you anymore. Did you
Let's
like hate this
let's
episode?
let's start with Sonata. I haven't heard sonatas.
Okay, I have opinions. That's
Don't
why
we
we're
all?
here. So, I won't call the episode god awful by any means, because at least we got to see some cool visuals that we otherwise wouldn't get to see. Now, that being said, some of the problems I have with this episode come from the fact that, in terms of the grander plot, very little really happens. And ordinarily, I'd be fine with that if the development of the characters compensated for it. And Ahsoka got a bit of development, yeah. I won't deny that. The issue I have is that at first glance, I couldn't grasp what the full lesson was she was supposed to be being taught until somebody else smarter than I was explained to me some of the stuff behind it. And I'm stuck between wanting to praise the writers for not holding my hand through the whole ordeal and also condemning them because perhaps they were a little too vague with how they did it. In general, most of the scenes during the flashbacks I enjoyed. The outfit that Ahsoka was wearing was an interesting choice. I can see that they're doing their best to distance themselves from the first days of the Clone Wars, which is a smart move.
Thank Christ.
The actress for younger Ahsoka did a phenomenal job. Justice and I discussed this after he saw the episode, but that younger actress really got the mannerisms of Rosario Dawson down as she was being Ahsoka herself.
I'll take this time to praise Ariana Greenblatt, I believe her name is, the actress who plays Ahsoka, and I do believe originally recording this, I said shout out to her agent for landing her these roles, because she is young Gamora in the last two Avengers movies. She is also the daughter in the Barbie movie, whose name I can't remember despite having high opinions of the movie. Uh, but yes, she's phenomenal. She kills it. She's great, especially for somebody of her age. She's really good at emulating the mannerisms of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, especially, which is just phenomenal. High praise for her in this episode.
But yeah, actress was phenomenal. Seeing the interactions between a live action Anakin and a live action Ahsoka did take me back to watching the Clone Wars when I was much younger. And I just want to point this out real quickly from those flashback scenes. If you go through them again, maybe it was that one clone, but I'm pretty sure it was more than one. They had like bags over their heads when they weren't wearing helmets. And that's what it looked like to me. Their heads were very deliberately obscured. And I'm not sure if that was an intentional decision on the part of like the writers or whoever was in charge of like set design at the time, because like the shortness of Rex's cameo also got my attention, so it made me wonder if something that Tamara Morrison was doing at the time of this show's filming prevented him from having as large of a part as they originally planned. So they had to, because I remember hearing about there was a stunt double in the Rex armor, and obviously all the clones were also like just regular old stunt people. But back on topic, seeing Hayden on screen again as Anakin, even if his face looks a bit wonky, he still has it in like the fighting choreography. Like some of the movements he made in some of these fight scenes like took me back to seeing episode 3 in the theater. Like that was Anakin there, and I'm just impressed that 18 years, actually closer to 19, I think, 19 years after like his last, I mean, technically he had a performance in Kenobi as well, so sometimes I forget Kenobi existed, which is sad, but just after all this time, he still has it. And that made me really happy to just see Anakin like be Anakin and then switch to like a more Vader-like stance, which also impressed me. And in general, the flashbacks were nice, even if I have a few like other gripes, like why did the Twi'leks have A280s? I didn't notice until someone else pointed it out to me. But why did the Twi'leks have A280s? Um, but beyond that, the flashbacks were great. When we left the world between worlds, I said this to Justice. I'm gonna say it again. I'm disappointed that the trailer shot of those 3 ships jumping in system. That I thought, okay, maybe this is going to be used for when the Republic has to dunk on some Imperials, and instead it was used on the New Republic has to give Hera a spanking. Like, that disappointed me a little bit. I know I got my hopes up because the New Republic doesn't fight the Empire; they just talk about them.
Yeah.
Yep.
They
Be it
talk
like
about how much they know the empire is gone as it's growing under their noses.
and beyond that, the Purgle stuff was all right. I didn't mind it that much. I I'll admit it was cool to see them jump in live action. I just I'm gonna have to side with Marin on this. Jason and Hera in live action is cool, but I feel like we're being overdosed.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
Justice, are you going to be more of a hater, or am I going to be? Because yeah, give it a number, Sonata.
okay, after some reflection and after some thought, I'm going for a 6.5.
Holy! Because I've
Oh
thought
my
about it,
god.
and I've gone down on the episode.
That's what I did. I went down on the episode. But like
Alright, so, all the flashbacks, the entire 25 minutes of the flashbacks and retrieving Ahsoka's body from the ocean existed only to establish the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka. At least that's what it felt like. This entire episode, in my opinion, the only scene that matters at all is that last scene with them jumping out with the Purgle. Nothing else in this episode did anything. We see character growth from Ahsoka with no real reasoning. Like, yeah, okay, cool. She saw Anakin again. She learned how to be a proper mentor and to let go of war. Stuff she's didn't need Anakin to do. Stuff that she probably actually did in the how many years it's been since the end of the Empire? Or since the end of her involvement in taking down the Empire?
So, the last time that we have any confirmation of Ahsoka's involvement within the Rebellion slash New Republic is her battle at Malachor in Rebels Season 2, which was 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, which makes it either 11 years before the show, with a range from 11 to 13 years. Because we know that she couldn't have come back any time during Star Wars Rebels as a show, which ends a few months before the Battle of Yavin, because I do believe that the Rebels crew would have been aware of her involvement. Theoretically, she could have come back. She could have, but we don't know. So we have to kind of assume that she hasn't been doing anything with the rebellion in quite some time. She does still have the Fulcrum code name as shown in the show, but we have to assume that she has kind of moved on from the war and any involvement in it, as Donovan was saying. So I don't know why she needed Anakin to do this.
This is retreading character that she should have already had. And that's half of the episode. And the other half is literally them doing nothing. Like, there's literally nothing of worth happens in the Hera and Jason section? Nothing.
Yeah, so in this episode, they do reveal that, rather, they confirm that Jason is force sensitive, given that, we all kind of assumed since Kanan Jarrus was his dad in the fandom that Jason would probably be force sensitive. He's even got a fucking Legends Jedi namesake. But this episode confirms it, only to immediately bench Hera and Jason for the rest of the show, meaning that this buildup serves nothing within this show and only for something greater, which is not the hallmark of a story, I think. I don't want to witness this very prominent story beat within an episode only be given to set up something else and serve nothing within its own story.
Like, for me though, why does that matter to this show?
Exactly. They did character development and then they threw it away, so they didn't character develop. Coming off of this episode, I was thinking that it felt like a 5. But then I sit here and I watch and I think about the interactions between Ahsoka and Anakin, and the fact that these interactions have basically already happened. Uh, they spent a 50-minute episode basically doing nothing. This episode was a 5 to me. I've got it at a 2. I honestly
Man,
think it was worse than episode 3. Because episode 3, they at least got to Cetos. With this, we see them leave, but they don't. Nothing goes anywhere in episode 5. That's the roughly abridged version. It's not it's not a 1 because the choreography was really good. The performance from young Ahsoka's actor was very good. There were some Hayden's voice work, and if that was him doing the actual choreography, physical performance was also very good. But the fact that they spent effectively an entire 50-minute episode just explaining things to people who didn't watch Rebels, instead of, spreading that information over natural dialogue across the season, I just can't. This is incredibly poor writing, in my opinion. That's the abridged version of my take. Justice, you got anything different to say?
All right, it's hater time. That's what I gotta say about this episode. I also give it a 2 out of 10, like Donovan. I don't think it's worse than episode 3. I don't think it's better than episode 3 because all this is just cheap fan service for the sake of being cheap fan service. Dave Filoni went, oh, hey, look, I have live action, so I'm gonna do Clone Wars in live action. And the reason is to retread lessons that Ahsoka presumably would have already learned, to remove independence from her character and make it so that Anakin teaches it to her. Which, on surface level, sure, that's cute that, the master has one final lesson for the apprentice, but I think it robs her of the fact that she's broken away from Anakin, which is kind of the point of the lesson, is to not see yourself only as what Anakin was and understand that you can be independent from him. You don't have to fall into the same pitfalls that he did just because you were taught by him. But no, we needed him to come back and teach that, which is whatever. Nothing is accomplished in this episode besides the Purgle jump, and I am of the opinion that this all could have been done. Episodes 3, 4, and 5 could have been probably one episode, maybe two, split like, you do one of the jumps in the beginning of the next episode or something like that. But you did not need to do both of these fucking really drawn out things, and I think they ruin the story. Especially episode 5 is just for the sake of doing cool shit. cool shit is cool. That's why it's called cool shit. However, if you're going to do cool shit, you've got to make it make sense. And this doesn't really make sense to slam it in here like this. I kind of feel like my time has just been disrespected because I've kept up with the source material and they've just retread ground for the sake of seeing Hayden Christensen in his Clone Wars armor as Anakin now. Which, it was cool. Sure, yeah, Captain Rex was cool. But this, and obligatory game of references, yeah, that's what we should start fucking calling it now. Game of Thrones reference. Is that this is where the Game of Thrones show went, especially in the last 2 seasons. They did cool shit for the sake of doing cool shit. Hell, fucking the sequels even fall into this pit trap a little. Especially I think Emperor Palpatine's resurrection, scenes of him like blasting lightning into the sky. I think a lot of this is like cool shit for cool shit's sake. And they didn't design a story to bring you through to the cool shit. They were kind of just like, hey, what if we just rehash some Ahsoka development for people who didn't watch the shows that Ahsoka was in? Because why would you not show up to an Ahsoka show without knowing who Ahsoka is? That seems like a smart idea, right? All in all, I wish I could like this episode, but I am not a fan of cool shit for cool shit's sake. If you can make cool shit work within the story, I think my best example of this is the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, At World's End. I think the entire movie, behind the scenes, was probably designed around this fucking obscenely, insane whirlpool fight where the Dutchman and the Black Pearl are circling this whirlpool having a naval battle. It's cool as shit, but they go through all of the effort in this story to get them there and make it make sense, by elaborating on two past characters, and developing this sea goddess who, helps them because she was freed. And that's why this shit happens. I'm pretty sure 90% of that movie's story happens because in the writer's room, one of the first things they came up with was, what if we wanted to do a fight around a whirlpool, and that's where the climactic battle happens? That very well may not have been what happens, but that's absolutely what feels like happens behind the scenes. And you know what? It's fucking awesome. But I don't feel that this is fucking awesome when I sit down and watch it. The entire episode, I was like, why am I witnessing this? What is this serving? I feel like this is a lesson Ahsoka should have already known. She's had what did I say, 11 to fucking 13 years to deal with this. I don't think she needed Anakin to come along and tell her to get over it. But that's just my opinion. This is a very long-winded opinion. I'm a hater. This episode's a 2 out of 10 because the cool shit doesn't serve the narrative. In fact, it serves to bog it down more, and this is what we like to call a staller episode. We are stalling for time. We did too much in the last episode. Too much happened in a single span of 40 minutes, so we have to waste 50 minutes of time and suck off all the Star Wars fans that just only see the nostalgia bait. And if you like the nostalgia bait of holy shit, it's the Clone Wars, good for you. I don't want to take that away from you. But I don't want the show to only be cool moments for sake of cool moments. I want them to be plot that builds into cool moments. And that is why I was not fond of this episode the entire time I watched it. And that really hurts to see all these cool things, because my fucking god, was it cool to see that cool transition between Anakin and Vader as he came back out into the world between worlds to swing at Ahsoka. the fucking shot composition on that, the visual effects, they were all really good, and it was really cool to see that. This is probably the only time we'll get to see Anakin with a red lightsaber when he's not Vader, right? That was cool as shit. But it was just kind of for the sake of being cool as shit, and not because, man, look at this and the purpose it serves. I do not think Ahsoka needed this retreaded lesson, yet here we are. I could probably upload this fucking audio clip as its own YouTube video at this point. It's gone on long enough. But yes, Ghost of Justice Future says that this shit was cool but pointless, thus making it not cool. Thumbs up emoji.
I would never call this episode the best Star Wars has to offer because of the Hera and Jason scenes mainly. And I understand that, like, thinking back on it, yeah, Ahsoka probably kind of already learned these lessons with her fight with Anakin and or with her fight with Vader and Rebels. Like, I like this episode because I got to see clones, I got to see young Ahsoka, and objectively, this episode was not good, but I still enjoyed it.
Oh
Or at
yeah,
least it
that,
wasn't
that's
that
that's perfectly fair.
good.
I'm of the opinion that this was Dave Filoni saying, "Hey, I can do, like as you mentioned, hey, I can do Clone Wars in live action," and no one stopped to say, "Hey, that's cool and
I
all,
know.
but this still needs to have a point." Whether that's the writing team or the storyboarding team or anyone else in the directing side, I there feels like there might have been, at least from my perspective, a breakdown in communication there on just because it's like, it's fucking Jurassic Park. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because I honestly think jumping to the distant galaxy with the Purgle either should have been the end of the episode, but cutting out a huge the 30-minute chunk of Jason and Hera or whatever it was, and cutting things down so it was actually more like the midpoint of the episode, and then it's like this sense of alien wonder looking at a new galaxy, and that's what you end on, and they get you hooked for the next episode with hey, what's new over here in this different galaxy? Who knows? Find out next time. And instead, they just bloated it up with, I hate to use the term filler. That's not quite accurate to what it is in terms of like fillers, in terms of like story arcs and such. But I'm going to amend my this to chaff. They filled this up with chaff, and then to try to end it on a cliffhanger as opposed to trying to bring people in with mystery.
I can't say it's filler, but it definitely is staller. Staller is the word that I think should be used here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the perfect way to describe it.
They had enough story for 6 or 7 episodes, and they need to stretch it to 8.
Mm.
So essentially, my biggest concern is that we just aren't going to get a satisfying conclusion to the show. And so this show's entire purpose is only to build up to other projects that are cooking in the background, like Dave Filoni's movie. It is a very real fear of mine, the fact that we only have 3 episodes left and they're just getting to the galaxy, that the only shot we might see of Thrawn is that trailer shot of him walking onto the Eye of Sion. Like, they very well might leave that to be the very last scene in the show, which I would hate if they did that, but I could totally see them doing that. And in that case, you then have this just super blue ballsy a situation where it's, oh hey, we got to Thrawn, show's over, and that's not really what we want to happen, because any story should have a logical conclusion to its chapters, to its book, essentially. You treat this like a book or the season of a TV show. They should end at a reasonable conclusion to the story going on. Again, obligatory Game of Thrones reference in either the book A Game of Thrones or the first season of the TV show. Spoilers for a book that came out like 20 years ago or something like that, maybe even 30 almost. Ned Stark dies after going through massive political intrigue, all this, all that, lots of mystery, lots of investigating. He dies. He is killed. His story is resolved by the fact that he played the Game of Thrones and lost. And that doesn't mean that the A Song of Ice and Fire story is over. More is set up. This sparks Robb to absolutely go to. I mean, he was already ready to go to war, but Robb Stark is now even more ready to go to war and just wreak hell across the country. Here's the thing, and the reason I bring that up is that it simultaneously is a logical conclusion that is satisfactory in the fact that you feel fulfilled. You feel like you earned your time from watching either the first season or reading the first book. But there's more to attend to after. There's a reason to come back to read A Clash of Kings or watch Game of Thrones Season 2. However, my fear is that we're going to get so blue-balled with Thrawn that it's not going to feel satisfactory at all as to, oh, here's a logical conclusion to the thing. It's, well, not to get too crass, but think of the term blue balls. Right at the climax of the story is where it's going to end, and that's not going to be enjoyable. That's my gross analogy for our episode. I apologize, but I think it's apt if we're using the term blue balled.
No, 100%. That's gonna be no. They're gonna blue ball us with Thrawn, and they're gonna blue ball us with Ezra. That's like
I am going to wager that Ezra will be playing the aptly named part of he who shall not be appearing in this show. 'Cause, my fear moving forward, I suspect Sonata has, and I also suspect that Justice has. But you guys remember what went wrong with Mass Effect Andromeda aside from the technical glitches?
Truth be told,
I know I've talked to you guys about this before.
it's been too long.
It basically, yeah, because they're in the Andromeda galaxy, brand new galaxy. And there's all this lore in this brand new galaxy that they have to explain because you don't have the foundational understanding of being in Mass Effect's Milky Way galaxy. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen these next 3 episodes. They're just going to be so slow and bogged down because of the because they're going to have to explain either they're going to have to explain things about this new galaxy and it's going to make everything bogged down, or it's going to feel hyper rushed and the fact that they're in a whole new fucking galaxy is going to be completely ignored. Well, even then, I'm not convinced they were ever going to be able to do it adequately, because Mass Effect Andromeda had roughly 20 hours of gameplay that was mostly exposition before you got into the actual meat and potatoes of what was happening. And, I mean, to be fair, this isn't BioWare's team. They could go fast, they could be better at fleshing out entirely new galaxies. I don't know. But they could also be worse. Because
So-
BioWare still got it done eventually. Mass Effect Andromeda's story while sometimes slow and clunky, is not bad. I encourage anyone listening to play it if they have not already. Most of the technical bugs and glitches have been dealt with. All that's left is this very plotting storyline. I'm going to bet money that, yeah, we just get, as the others have said, Thrawn entering the Eye is one of the, if not the last scene, and gonna feel both rushed and sluggish.
Like,
So, I'm sorry, Marin.
no, it's just I love Star Wars. Star Wars is one of my favorite um I don't know, universes, media collection of media things, whatever. IP. What?
Franchise? Yeah.
Yeah, that. I would English is hard, okay? Um, it's definitely one of my favorites, and I hate to rag on it. It's just like I'm tired of Star Wars being painfully mid.
I do want to speak up because while I know nobody here looks into them, at least anymore, I know Justice and I both kind of shared them with one another over time. I've seen some stuff that hints towards the events of future episodes because I've mentioned this before, I'm the type of guy who looks at leaks and then compares them to the final product.
Uh-oh.
Some of the things that I've seen. Now, mind you, I will say this up front. Leaks have been wrong before with this show. Because one of the leaks for the show, which I think I can confidently say now, is that there was like half of the show was going to be before the Rebels time skip and the other half would be after.
Yeah.
But we now know that's not true. And yeah, so some of the stuff I've seen, I'm not going to get into specifics or anything like that, makes me very nervous. Especially with some of not just the words of you all today, but also the words of other people in other circles, as well as just the words of others that I've read online. Because if what I've seen is true, unless the writing team plays their cards very well, a good chunk of people are going to walk away dissatisfied. Because from what I've seen, how do I phrase this? I think I know how to phrase this. From what I've seen, similar to the events of episode 4, events are going to kick off quicker than perhaps they should. And as a result, we're going to have I should amend my statement, we're going to have a situation where the pacing is not going to feel right, and it will raise questions of which may not be sufficiently answered in the show and may have to be covered by either the film or supplemental material between the two. It was really hard to phrase all of that without spilling anything.
It's okay.
Of course, we are kind of being pessimistic here. On the bright side, that does leave room to be pleasantly surprised. It is possible for it to get better from here. And it's possible for it to not reach the rather poor conclusions that we are forecasting. But this is what the realist in me is saying. I do have one thing to say that's a completely unrelated, almost completely unrelated, but still a prediction for the show that I should have thought of when we discovered they were going to a new galaxy. Merkur technically exists in canon, but I'd bet money that he finds the Salamiri in the other galaxy. Because Thrawn without a Salamiri is just, it's not right.
I hope that's what he finds in the other galaxy.
It would make the most sense
Yeah.
to be in the other galaxy. Because, like, the Salamiri are, like, a key thing with Thrawn, where it's like, I hate to use these words because they have, like, such a negative attachment to them, but they are a convenient plot device to, at least in Legends, to explain why this fucking Jedi Master clone doesn't just snap his neck. But back then it was like a unique idea for like something that would negate the Force and give Thrawn an edge he needed against characters like Luke.
Yeah.
So
it is, in fact, a MacGuffin.
You know what else comes from other galaxies in Star Wars Legends?
Grisk.
Well,
yes, Grisk in Legends.
We call them.
Yes, the canonical Great Outsider. Prepare for the Yuuzhan Vong invasion.
I think if they get to the new galaxy and there's Yuuzhan Vong there, I think I give up. I think I call it.
You know what you're about to find in another fucking galaxy? My cat Susan. She just ate the rest of my burger.
As a wise man once said, "Get fucked."
You're getting sent to the Shadow Realm. Can we just call this new galaxy the Shadow Realm?
No. This is
well,
Galaxy.
Thrawn and Ezra did get sent to the Shadow Realm.
This is
I'm
Galaxy
pretty sure
2.
we'd be.
It's just
I'm pretty sure we'd be sued by 4Kids.
4Kids? I think I could take 4Kids in a lawsuit.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure why kids would be suing us when Bandai owns the trademark.
I don't have anything else to say at the moment. We've only been going for like an hour and 10 minutes, but I'm content to call it here. And then there's something there's something amusing. I have to tell you all after this.
If you're about to tell us that the audio wasn't working for this entire episode,
only mine wasn't working, which means I'm gonna figure it out in post on Friday. They can hear me now, but I noticed because generally I'm like not the only one making noise, so I couldn't tell on the audio slider. But everybody's getting a behind the scenes because I will not cut this out. Fuck you. And
yeah, you don't cut things.
I realized that because I have an Elgato microphone, which has an Elgato mixing system that you can download for free, which I always use because it's really handy. For some reason, the noise canceled microphone program that I use in video broadcast, it's not coming in through the mixing software that has a consolidated output, but it does work when I create it as its own instance in OBS. So I don't know what's up with that. I'm genuinely really frustrated at that. I will figure it out. I might have to go in and just dub myself. Honestly, I might just cut out huge sections. There might be a huge disclaimer that explains why I'm not speaking a lot of the time. This one might require some actual editing, but
Yo, we're making Justice do his job.
Really fucking dumb that this shit. At least it's salvageable because it was only me. I can make it work, and maybe you guys can actually seem like you were talking this time more than I do.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's probably huge flaws. Anyways,
I don't know. Last time I talked way too much.
so this has been colossal clusterfuck with us all. Thank you for tuning in or watching. Figure out what I do in post to fix all this. You'll know before I do. You won't know before I do, but you'll know before you hear this conversation.
Yeah.
Goodbye, y'all. Fucking
Bye.
Christ.
Bye bye.
All right, this is my final message. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us for this clusterfuck. I did resolve this as much as I could because I wasn't just going to let this recording and subsequently a week go to waste. But I did, as a matter of fact, recognize that this is scuffed as shit. So I thank you if you've made it this far. Come see us in 2 weeks where we have a good recording and we talk about not the last two episodes. There's still, but the next episode and then the penultimate episode. Oh, also, congratulations on Lando for getting turned into a movie. I thought that show was dead. This is my bit of Star Wars news for you all in post. And now the ghost of Justice's future says goodbye. It's not very bright here either.